A very good morning, everybody. Today is the last day of our PhD coursework presentations. We have three scholars making their presentations. Today, they are going to make presentations on specific area of their research. We'll start with Nilay's presentation, and he will be talking on forbidden anime as a critique of social and cultural tools. Taboos, cultural taboos. It will be followed by Ghanshyam's presentation on Blade Runner, a post-humanist perspective, and finally Trushali's presentation on studying Amitav Ghosh's Gun Island through the lens of digital literary cartography. Okay, so let us start with the first presentation.
Good morning to everyone. I'm Nilay and for the paper 3 specific area of research, I'm going to present on forbidden anime.
You have to share the screen.
It is not shared?
Not shared yet. No.
Okay.
Your face also is very near, so either you can push this camera back or slightly. Huh?
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, so for the paper 3 specific area of research, I am going to present on forbidden anime as a critique of social and cultural taboos. So why such animes are banned and the reasons behind it. Not so much depth, but some analysis of the chosen anime. So first of all, let's define what is anime, what is manga, what is cartoon, and what is the key difference between these three specific terminologies. So cartoon is generally seen as a Western and often related with something that is animated. It can be in comic format, it can be in a moving visual format as well. And it is often made for children, and it is so that a family can watch it together. And whereas anime, which is specifically terminology defined by the Japanese animation. So in a way, Japanese animation is also a cartoon. Well, the fandom is trying to fight on these things that if you call anime cartoon, they will get offended. But it is not so. Anime is also cartoon. It is a medium which is animated in or adapted by light novels or mangas. And the third one is manga. So it is a form of comic, a Japanese comic, uh, mostly adapted by light novels, and later on mangas are made into visual representation and moving animation. And it serves as a bunch and parasite. It serves as a foundational transmedia partner for many anime series. It is not just the Japanese, but a transnational form. So, what is the key difference? Unlike most Western cartoons, anime and manga frequently explores the themes such as taboos, satire, pun, explicit violence, and sexual and controversial political discourse as well. So this makes it uniquely susceptible to various form of censorship across different cultures. So here in this picture, you can see that manga panel is a black and white comic And whereas cartoon, we have all seen Simpsons and other things, Mickey Mouse and Disney and DreamWorks is also making many animated movies. Marvels is also in this list, and this one is anime. So all the characters are from Japanese animated series and movies and mangas. So why forbidden anime? Why did I choose that topic? So there are many reasons behind it, such as there are some cultural aspect, there are some social fears, there are some media, and also authors and directors are also putting a little bit of restrictions and censorship on their own creation. So let's say, for example, Attack on Titan, and which is not as such censored by the contributors or the directors itself, but when distribute it is distributed in other countries such as China, the government or the people do not accept it as it is made. So these are the social fears, like moral panics surrounded media, like Kodomono-jikan, Nymphettes, or children's crime. It is considered in Japan as a humorous animated series, but in other countries where uh, elementary school children are depicted as being romantically connected with their male teachers is not so much accepted. So, what are the theoretical factors that I'm trying to connect? So, Foucault's governmentality, censorship, as is McLean said, it acts as disciplinary mechanism seeking to control and shape collective imagination, particularly regarding youth. So, like Tokyo Ghoul, and there are around 38 anime and manga titles which were banned in around 2015 in China for being uh, unaccepted and spoiling the youth. So fans engage with, as Lambert and Tucker and Grossberg says, in complex ways, often producing opposite reading, forging new symbolic meaning. So the fandom, if the reason behind censorship is not so much accepted, or there are political reasons behind it, then the fandom will try to create something new out of it. It is almost depicted as fan art. And here, Perez and Conry also point out that anime functions as a hybrid cultural product, adapting and transforming as it circulates globally. And the queer and gender theory, as I mentioned in Child's Play, the anime, which and such animes serves as a potent space for the expression and exploration of submersive desires, challenging the conventional norms. But uh, the theory of Wood and Susan Napier is that how female characters in queer and other genders are represented in those anime, such as, let's say, for example, Miyazaki's film. So if you see that all of the films by Miyazaki are slice of life and somewhat romantic. So where the woman character is leading the plot and developing it. So traditionally, those woman characters are also falling under the traditional methodology as well. It is not, as other scholars says, uh, censorship as a control of youth and imagination. So first, Death Note. So Death Note is banned in China and US schools as well, some school and some part of US. So in China, it was banned in 2015 along with other 38 mangas. The reason behind it, the government uh, says, is in a way corrupting the influence of on youth. And the second one is Psychopath. Psychopath is a series about the dystopian allegory of a predictive policing, resonates with real world concerning about the state surveillance and control. So in a way, it is like 1984 and Fahrenheit 451. And as McLean said, the states often impose narrow moral reading on media, which deliberately overlook or erase the nuanced interpretation and expertise of fan community. So that's not specifically speaking about Death Note and Psychopaths. There is not that much violence in those anime, but the plot is narrated in a way that youth are rebelling against the government. Uh, in High School DD, Kodomo no Jikan, and Excel Saga, sexuality and morality and cultural taboos are a part of being censored or being banned. So in High School DD, the anime, there are a total 5 seasons that explore the themes of empowerment and self-acceptance. Yet often sparks a debate regarding objectification, and the reason being that the content is so explicit and erotic and sexual that the government or film censorship boards are not accepting it to be released in their languages or in their own countries. Similarly, Kodomo no Jikan, which is translated into child's time. So in this specific movie is banned in the US, and the reason behind it is that it portrays a child elementary school characters being romantically and sexually interested in their male teacher. So officially, the Seven Seas Entertainment, which is the publisher, they did not. They also decided against the publication of this comic and series into the English language. So Excel Saga, which is a parody, there are many episodes which are censored in many countries. Officially, it is not a complete ban, but censorship is done in many episodes because it demonstrates the humor and satire, which are not regularly for the scrutiny and political reasons. So, cultural taboos in localization. So, sexuality in uh, the discussed anime. Apart from that, there are many such animated series and manga such as Sailor Moon and Card Captors Sakura, which describes and narrates queer relationships with this character, and it systematically erases or replaces platonic and religious imagery. Christian iconography used aesthetically in Japan often altered in the US to avoid controversy because USA, Japan, China, and Korea, these three or four countries do not get well with each other. There are, if you see Japanese anime or series, you will find that the depiction of US, let's say, citizen or their political system is so much mocked at. Let's say, for example, in many anime, that if there is a reference to US coming, then characters will be holding a gun or they will be making joke on attack on 9/11 or terrorism, and the accent of speaking English is also a mockery on US. So these are the primary reasons why US is trying to alter some of these factors. And racial and historical sensitivities. Designs like Pokemon things for the Buddhist kanji symbol in Tokyo Revengers. So in Tokyo Revengers, we also find that the, Christianity is also involved in that because one of such logo in the Tokyo Revengers jackets are found that the angel is found but without the head, and the swastika is also uh, connected to Hindu mythology as well as in Nazi symbolism. Horror and gore in the anime. Tokyo Ghoul, Parasite, and other animes are depicting so much violence, so much horror, and the uh, gore in the plot or in the manga that it is so explicit to produce or show to the youth. So Tokyo Ghoul specifically, it shows the gore content, and if you see this poster, this is the manga panel. So the main character itself is trying to gouges eyes out. So, apart from that, he is also tortured in many scenes where his fingers are cut and toenails and are ripped off, and a centipede is also inserted in his ears. In Parasite, this series employs the body horror to disabilitize the very notion of human identity. So, in Parasite, an alien is residing into the main character's right hand because it could not get access to his brain. So the alien is not in full control of the person's body, but only the hand. So without being into connection, without being the consent of this character, so in the one body we found two character, two consciousness, where one, the alien is trying to eat. So by eating, I mean killing humans and eating them, specifically their brains. So, why animes, the grotesque element reflects broader anxiety about body and identity in contemporary society, as Susan Napier in his book suggests. Cross-cultural misreading uh, and mistranslation. So, Attack on Titan and Pokemon, which are banned in many reasons. And if you see in this image, subtitle is says, "Listen, when you get back, let's go on a date." But if anyone who knows Japanese, they will try to connect it with their own language. As this commenter comments, anyone speaks Japanese. I think the word date was mistranslated. I think there is a Japanese word that means going out as a friend. So that got translated as date, going out with romantic intention. So there are cultural difference between these two words. So Western society and other countries may not have this concept of going out as a friend. We have other terminologies for that, but the translation is being misinterpreted here. So Pokemon, why it was banned? So Pokemon faced bans for various reasons. It is banned in Saudi Arabia for triggering seizures in viewers, controversy over religious politics. So, Pat says the Western ban often misinterprets anime through Orientalist and moralist lenses, overlooking the nuanced cultural context. As Pat and other scholars like Clarence try to say that we are studying Japanese anime in one specific area of discipline, but it often overlooks how it is culturally connected. Fans as counterforce. Their fandom are circulating anime against the current. So, uh, in US, around 1960s, after the arrest of a serial killer, many such animated series manga were restricted in the US market, and this caused a moral panic between the fandom. So, fans tried to bring together the whole community and they circulated the content themselves through piracy. As it says, Tokyo Ghoul and Death Note, despite the official ban, this series continued to circulate widely. Fans created subtitle versions, fan subs, demonstrating the power of grassroots distributions. Fan subs were instrumental in the initial globalization of anime, operating outside traditional legal and commercial channels. And case studies, as I have already discussed, that Pokemon Gigant, that's not Psychopath and Attack on Titan. Why? The reason depiction of child sexuality and extreme cultural dissonance. That's not morality, justice, and power, triggering the real world moral panic. Psychopath, surveillance and algorithmic tyranny in dystopian future. Attack on Titan, politics and other fascism and historical trauma. And the other reason behind banning Attack on Titan is that it is some historical issues between China, Japan, and Korea. So China is not releasing Attack on Titan or altering it because of their historical and political issues. The panopticon is a concept by Michel Foucault. It is a social theory that suggests that Uh, in general, it is a concept of control, which ever present feeling of being watched, including the will of maintaining the law. So, the panopticon prison was designed by Jeremy Bentham. Basically, it was designed by his brother, who was an architect, Samuel, but it is the design is patented on Jeremy Bentham's name. So, it, it design is in such a way that if the cellmates or the prison mates are locked in their cells, the guard who is sitting at the center will be able to look and see all the prison mates. But the those who are in the prison cells will not be able to see what is going outside and who is watching them. So that was the whole panoptic prison. So here, psychopaths, we see that all the characters are living in their own way without knowing that they're being under surveillance. Death Note. I'm already mentioned, but I'm not going too deep into it. But Foucault's concept and theories are being discussed here. So the notebook, the Death Note itself, is a potent semiotic device. He says represents the absolute power and its corrupting influence. Light, who is the main character here, Light's transformation into Kira. Kira in Japanese is a Japanese word which means killer or murderer. It illustrates Foucault's theory on persuasive power mechanism. So there is also real world connection where Chinese school kids were writing person's name who they dislike. So key insights beyond level. Forbidden is not just level but imposed by power in some cases and prejudices and law, not an inherent quality of animates. Revealed anxiety. So there are many animes which also specifically, let's speak about erotic and sexual content, which creates, maybe it might not be banned in many regions, but if you are found out purchasing those anime or manga, then the person will be judged a lot. So inconsistent censorship. Censorship is inconsistent, shaped by legal tradition. In Japan, moral panics in the West, and religion frameworks in the Middle East. Fan resistance, they are moving towards piracy, memes, and fan arts, and BL means boys club and other queer fandom. Media forms matter. Anime destabilize the cultural norms, not only through themes but profoundly through its unique media form. A conclusion: anime is not a static category, such as uh, it is not now specifically to Japanese of Japanese origin. Many countries are also and they are trying to be in the market. So China is also in the market. They are producing anime which they have their own terminology as mahwa or something like. And Korea is also producing anime. One case is of Solo Leveling. The manga was the comic book was produced in and created in Korea with Korean characters and names, but it was adapted into Japanese by Japanese contributors and creators. These are the works I did. Thanks.
My question is how do you see the banning of anime on the basis of social anxiety or political point of view?
So anime on the basis of social anxiety or political views. So many cases animes are banned for social anxieties because let's say for example in India one anime is banned because of it mocks the mythical god. So the anime is playing with the social anxiety and the social fear and morals of the people. So the reason behind ban is social anxiety and otherwise political views. So in China, Attack on Titan and Death Note is banned because of political view. Because Attack on Titan depicts the character being against the government, against the power. So after seeing that anime, many of the youths were trying to speak against, and it might not happen because of that reason. So the government thought took censor board and the cultural ministry of China banned those anime. So that was the political view of those animes.
So in that case, you have to procure those documents, whether the officially Chinese government is putting a circular or whatever it is. So those evidence will be required when you make that point in your thesis, when you write about. So it will be in the Chinese language. Then you have to have the translated as well as that version also, both the things. And if you are not able to procure those, then you'll have to find a way that on what ground you make those observations. Where have you read it? What is their authentic source? That also.
I have a piece of a Chinese newspaper,
Hmm.
and I think it is also in Chinese government's circular or something, but it is in Chinese. I'll have to see the translation.
Yeah, so you'll have to see the translation, but because only on newspapers we can't rely the authenticity of those things. So that you'll have to procure the authentic document.
Okay, Nilay, my question is that you mentioned about Pokemon bans in Saudi Arabia, but but is Pokemon really a forbidden anime in the same sense as Kodomo no Jikan is forbidden? So, what's your take on that?
So Pokemon is banned in Saudi Arabia. There are around more than 1,000 episodes, around 26 series of that anime. So it is not completely banned. There are some episodes which are censored and some which are banned because of it is portraying the religious and political connections. Whereas Kodomo Jikan is portraying sexual content where minor children, elementary school children, are being portrayed in relation with their male teachers. So it is socially and culturally not accepted. That was the reason behind the ban of Kodomo no Jikan.
Okay, so have you procured all the like printed one when you want to see manga and other things? Printed text.
No.
So that also you have to procure the printed one. Uh, then the animated is fine if it is in the this format. Then but the whichever is printed, that also you have to purchase and keep the things. If it is very costly, you can suggest we can get it for library. Some of the something that is considered as a classic kind of a thing, which is not banned or prohibited, but at least people get an idea when they refer to the printed version that this is what is the genre, this is how it looks. So, not the forbidden or banned one, but those are a kind of a thing which is in circulation and one can easily procure from the market. So, either you have to purchase some of the samples or you can suggest we can buy for our library also. Okay, next presentation now.
Hello everyone. Today, my topic of the presentation will be Blade Runner, a posthumanist perspective, which is in that I'll be talking about. This is my specific area of research. First, little bit of introduction to the film. The Blade Runner is a 1982 science fiction film directed by Ridley Scott, and it is based on Philip K. Dick's novel "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" And it has also a sequel directed by Dennis Villeneuve, which is Blade Runner 2049. In this movie Blade Runner, uh, 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 it is how do we call it a post-humanist film, or how do we interpret it as a post-human subject of study? Then the post-human subject appears as a human androids or cyborg and blurs the line between human and technology, and this is very much seen in this film, where two different species, or we can say entities, are depicted. One is human, which is we are familiar with, and other is called replicants, that are genetically enhanced, engineered models that look alike humans. So in the film, there is a test called empathy test to judge whether the subject is replicant or not by observing reactions such as breathing, facial expression, heart rate, and pupil dilation to external stimuli. One can judge whether the object has the ability to empathize, or in another word, whether they have the humanity. When they have to differentiate whether one is human or replicant, then they have to apply this empathy test, and they have to go through these various questions. It is more like Turing test, which was earlier, that differentiate between a human and machine. That type of test they have to pass. Yeah, that is the that's differentiate. In that world, they cannot differentiate whether one is human or one is replicant. The post-human condition we can apply there. Then the distinction between humanity and post-humanity occurs when artificial humanoids known as replicant created to labor in human colonies rebel against their condition of de facto slavery and return to Earth in hope that their creator, Alden Terrell, can increase the artificial abbreviated lifespans. Blade Runner complicates our conception of both post-human and human by showing us a world in which humans and their machine offsprings have become distinguishable only by means of the board camp of test, which is I have in the early slide uh, introduced as the empathy test, which evaluates this physiological responses to question designed to gauge their capacity for empathy. This type of world in the Blade Runner is represented, that very much blurs the line of a human and post-human, and they reflect kind of characteristic and emotions, and they want to live a life. Uh, uh, that's how it is depicted. Okay. In Here, the monologue of Roy Batty, one of the replicants of Nexus 6 model in Blade Runner, who is genetically engineered and who have high abilities of speed, and it is strong and more powerful than human being, but they are they are not having a lifespan as much we humans have. They have only 4 years to live, and then they will be expired, or they will be dysfunctional, or they will eventually die. Or if they are not dead and they rebel, they will be retired, which means to kill the replicants. So in his monologue, right before his death, the replicants, Roy Batty Rick Deckard, that the Blade Runner who is hunting him down. I have seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire of the shoulder of the Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain, time to die. This kind of monologue he is delivering before he is dying, and this monologue and his representation is very much like he is reflecting that he is also embodying those characteristics of what we know or believe that what humans should have. Uh, what makes Betty's soliloquy so poignant is that he speaks from the standpoint of lived experience and the recognition that life is ephemeral. Even if he could completely convey the informational content of his experience to another, the experience itself will be missing. And that is very much the concept of humanity and consciousness, that this lived experience is very much important. When replicants have emotions of human, they did a thing of human deed to request for life from the God who created them. When Betty finally met his creator, his father, his God Tyrell, he asked for more life. So the ultimate quest of replicants in the Blade Runner is shown as they want to live. They want to live the life that humans live. Or they very much like to be humans, and they are portraying that. And for that to live longer, they have to find out solution, and they go to this Tyrell, who is the owner of this corporation who manufactures those replicants and slaves. This is what the quest of replicants is shown in the movie, and that is very much like human blurring the boundary of human and machine, or we can say the post-human and human. Here also, no one comes close to the subtle depth of the Blade Runner's post-human future except Deckard, Rachel, and Roy. Deckard risks the default knowledge that Rachel is more human than any human he knows. Rachel learns to trust, later to love the person assigned to retire her. Roy sees the immeasurable value of everything he has witnessed and lived, so much so that he saves the Deckard's life, the life of the man wanting him. Finally, Deckard witnesses the mystery of Roy's soliloquy and death with silent respect. His response to Roy's transformation is to rescue Rachel and tie his fate to her. Replicants and humans alike are far more than the set of coded DNA instructions. So here, the replicants are trying to be or reflecting the human traits, while the humans represented in that worlds are more like now not in the that type of representing the characteristic of humans that was once uh, once uh, uh, once applied as what it means to be human. Rather, the replicants are more humans. They are expressing emotions and empathy and humanity. Perhaps the crossover moment is not so far away as 2019. The success of Human Genome Projects has just been announced. Over 3 billion biochemical characters of human DNA are now decoded, giving us the potential to change the biochemical instruction for being human. Genetic engineer work wonders in Blade Runner become it is profitable scientific and technological fields grow exponentially. The skills are exploited by corporates to maximize profit. The speed of technology evolution has profound consequences for cultural evolution. Culturally, we are always unsuccessfully trying to catch up with the technology. Science, the future we imagine are often slightly exaggerated images of the present. Blade Runner is a instructive mirror. Now, with the human projects so far advanced and cell technologies capable of re-engineering, regenerating human tissues and organs, we are not so far from Blade Runner's replicant. So here is the somewhat comparison is also presented that human genome project is trying to alter the DNA and re-engineer the humans, and it is more like that the world presented in near 50 years ago in the Blade Runner is now it is coming into the reality also. And this factor of technology which is exploited by corporation is also a significant one that if it is in the right hand, if the policymakers are not very much concerned about ethical implications of all these things, then there will be also the consequences like the rebellion of replicants or this type of controversy in the near future also. And it is also saying that culturally we are always unusually trying to catch up with the technology. Technology can grow, but the culturally we are always step back. We are not that much able to catch up with it, think about it like in ethically, morally, or in policy making. We are far behind from the technology, and we are always like that. So that type of things also can be resulted into this rebellion of replicants and that type of things in the near future also. That was the analysis of Blade Runner, directed by Ridley Scott. But the sequel also present those type of attributes and those things which was in the first film. Also in the Dennis directed movie Blade Runner 2049. Also there are those type of conflict of consciousness and memory and all the post-human traits that can be found in the replicants. Here, the protagonist himself is a Blade Runner, and he is also the replicant of the current generation of Nexus 9, and he is also trying to, he is also having this type of attributes which can be found in the earlier in the Nexus 6 in Blade Runner movie. There are also the empathy test and all the things also in this sequel also. Then there is other movies like I, Robot and Ex Machina and Ghost in the Shell, also the animated one. All those movies are also trying to reflect on the human consciousness and a blurring boundary of a machine and humans. In the slide also we can see that the image from the Blade Runner movie where three persons are depicted. If we try to understand this image, then one is a complete human, one is cyborg which have artificial limb. He is human, but have artificial limbs, so that's why not complete human. Then there is a robot who is have consciousness, who is aware of himself. So that type of blurring boundaries can be seen, and there is in Ghosh in the Shell, where the robot or the species depicted in the movie, they have this ghost that we can say as a soul. So that type also there is a reflection of blurring boundaries, and then there is ex machina, autonomous, self-aware cyborg who have ability to manipulate, who have now reflected all the human attributes and have completed herself that way. So there is also a blurring boundaries of those type of things. In conclusion, from the perspective of posthuman studies, Blade Runner makes a claim about the posthuman identity crisis and defining the human in relation to technology, replicants, and artificial memory. As one central issue of posthuman study is to go beyond humanist restriction of speaking of the human in the action and the interest of the class, sex, race, genome to figure out what counts as the human. So the blurring boundary is seen all in this movie. And the post-human is reflected in that. These are the resources, and now you can ask me questions.
Ghanshyam, my question is that does the film suggest that empathy is a defining human trait, or does it problematize this idea in a post-humanistic framework? How you analyze it?
Yes, in the film, this empathy is very significant because this test, empathy test, is compulsory to pass to all the replicants, and that way they are distinguishing whether the replicants having the human attributes, if they are thinking about that kind of things of not just empathy but all the emotions that are very much felt by a complete human. If that type of traits are seen and replicants, then they will have to be retired or be killed. That type of thing is presented in the this movie also. And it is also the one of the concepts that is also defining a human, and so it is very much important for the posthumanist framework to imply in the study so that they can reflect on this blurring boundary of human and posthuman, and how we are now going towards or becoming posthuman.
Actually, my take was that does this post-humanistic concept in terms of Blade Runner problematize the idea of this what you say replicant, or just empathy is just a single thing that can define a life or human?
Okay, not just empathy that is defining, but there are other emotions, and problematizing in the sense. I think Blade Runners or all the movies very much. If we see, then they try to also consciously, unconsciously trying to present the pure human or that kind of characters at the center of the films. And the posthumanist framework is trying to reflect on that is not the center of those kind of uh, ideas, where even the the protagonist of the movie, which can be seen as the pure human, he also in many film critics believes or try to interpret that he is also a replicant. So that's why he is trying to, towards the end of the film, he is empathizing toward the replicants. Also, he is not the pure human, but he is also a replicant. That kind of critics are also saying about this character also.
So you have to see that what is our definition of a human. Being empathetic is one of the characteristic trait of being a human. So what are those characteristic traits of being a human, which are now problematized when you look at the idea of post-human? So we try to test the non-human entity through these parameters. That if you have this, then you are still human or you are a machine. So what are those things which people are trying to see that you can try to study and see the very idea of human, the definition of human also we try to investigate in a similar way.
So, Ghanshyam, my question is, how might the Blade Runner's post-human thing connect to the current debates about AI, robotics, and genetics?
Okay, the Blade Runner's post-human, which is a replicant, which is engineered, genetically designed models of mirror image of the actual humans, and that is very much we can connect to the current time where the genetic modification of DNA and stem cells and all the things are progressing and might become reality also. So the themes of Blade Runner, it is presented in 1992, but still, if we see the technological progress, and now we can say that it might come into reality in the near future also.
Okay, there is one more from Trushali.
Question is quite similar to the last one, the question I asked, but somewhat different. How does Blade Runner make us think the definition of life and what it means to be human in the context of AI and biotechnologies when you are considering post-humanism?
Okay, the definition of life, as I'm presented in the slides of the presentation, the monologue or the soliloquy of this character Roy Batty, who is talking about his lived experience and his memory. That is very much important for him, and he want to extend his life to experience more. The life very much is in the Blade Runner or any other movie is presented as the lived experience, the consciousness, and how the humans are feeling all the things, and that is the more at the center of when we consider what it means to be life. In those type of representation, while they are not complete humans, but they have a lived experience, they have memory, they have emotions, they are reflecting emotion. They are not meant to reflect emotions, but as they are living and spending more time, they are reflecting those experience. So that is very much connected to life. In the Blade Runner 2049, there is dialogue from this officer K, who is the protagonist of the film, that to have a to have that means be human. That means to have soul, and that is what he's saying. So where is this soul is coming from? What is meaning by this soul? So there is this felt emotions, felt experience, memory. All those things are very much connected to the representation of life in those films also.
Okay, fine. So let's see the next one. Have you referred to this
Uh,
Dune film novel also? It was novel and
yes,
then
yes.
film Dune and the Man from Earth. the men from Earth. So refer to this. If you are not referred, that how that also. So all this sci-fi, which are growing slowly and steadily upon that idea about human. That all you have to over, even though it is not your primary text. So then you refer specifically to this two, Dune and the men from Earth.
So that was Dune. I know about. I was familiar about, but I'm not relating to it because Dune have this storytelling like Star Wars,
Hmm.
which is like intergalactic and not representing the Earth,
Hmm.
and while I have to link to humanity and
Hmm.
this thing. So that's why I have not used or
But you are aware about the narrative then. Okay.
there are new movies also coming like this creator
Hmm.
movie which is about robots who have consciousness and
Hmm.
so that time adding to all
So
this
you keep on
yeah.
reading whatever new is coming and whatever is considered as classic. That all you should be overviewing.
Sir, can Avatar be considered in this one as well?
That also can be. Anything where there is this biotechnology, genetically modified humans, that way, that also comes into that.
Good morning, one and all present here. On the last day of the presentations on PhD coursework, I'm going to explore my presentation on studying Amitav Ghosh's Gun Island through the lens of digital cartography. Here is the roadmap as I'm mapping the literary text itself of my presentation, followed like beginning from research questions, introduction to the novel and digital cartography, and mapping the literary text itself through the use of Google My Maps and Google Earth, and the journey of gun merchant, the use of digital map and how it became the how it became important, crucial in terms of understanding the literary text and unfolding layer within it and concluding it. Here are some of the research questions when we consider digital literary cartography. That can we experience a novel or any literary text through digital lenses? What happens when we apply mapping to the literary text, especially as I'm considering A Gun Island by Amitav Ghosh? Can it help interpret the multiple layers of meaning embedded within them that we cannot even find while reading the novel itself? And how can it provide new insights into their thematic concerns, like in Gun Island, climate, migration, human trafficking, and all? Here is the introduction of digital cartography itself and the novel of Amitav Ghosh, Gun Island. Like we used maps in our day-to-day lives to navigate the places we are going through various destinations. So it becomes very helpful to navigate the places in our day-to-day lives. Similarly, like map is a very useful tool to navigate and visualize the locations. Similarly, digital mapping tools enables us to analyze literary works. Why Amitav Ghosh's Gun Island as the study of literary, like through the literary cartographic lens? Because it presents an expensive depiction of places, journeys that weaves together myth and migration and so many things together. I have used Google My Maps and followed by Google Earth as it is interlinked with Google My Maps only to map my literary text Gun Island. Well, let's have a short introduction to digital literary cartography. Well, the cartography is a science of map making that uses spatial theories, where place becomes the carriers of meaning, carriers of cultures and other identity things. Lefebvre's concept of production of space, how place is produced, and all these concepts become essential while mapping all the literary texts, as we need to locate some of the places at certain places and try to see the connections between that. Amitav Ghosh's Gun Island, which was published in 2019, is having a protagonist named Dinanath Datta, known as Dean, is a dealer in rare books who is living in Brooklyn and coming to Calcutta at his native place. And there he heard about the myth of Mansa Devi and gun merchant by one of his cousins, Kanai Dutt. And this journey pushes him to explore the mythical journeys of the gun merchant, explored through the real life locations and incidents in the back in the 17th century. In the novel, there are real life migration journey of people living in Bengal Islands due to the climate crisis, and similarly, there is the mythical journey of Banduki Sadgar or gun merchant. The novel explicitly describes the human trafficking at Venice in the past days as well, in the back in the 70th century, and even the present time of the novel as well. And that challenges to the life there. Apart from the migration of people, human trafficking, there is the migration of people, migration of animals as well due to the climate crisis. The novel blurs boundaries between legends and reality, suggesting how migration is an enduring part of human history. And this is the whole aspect that makes the Gun Island very interesting text and very crucial text to be looked at through the cartographic lenses. Novel presents a vast scope of analyzing locations as Dinanath Datta, the protagonist, embark on an unexpected journey after encountering the shrine of Mansa Devi in the islands of Sundarbans. He was not initially tend to go there, but with the insistence of Kanai Dutt and Nilima and Nirmal, he went there, and this is how the journey marked. There are multiple journeys also described in the novel of gun merchant Lubna Khala and her husband Munir, Tipu and Rafi, Palash, as Palvoskaya argues that maps are not neutral but are shaped by cultural, historical, and political contexts as well. So, all the aspects can be mapped together, and there is a role of cultural memory that is connected to the places. Here I have tried to map the journey of gun merchant, that we'll see also in the map as well. This is a single journey of gun merchant from the islands of Sundarbans to Venice, ghetto of. In the novel, there is the gun merchant refuses to become the devotee of Mansa Devi, and which begins his exile as he relentlessly followed by the divine wrath of Mansa Devi. He travels from Sundarbans, where he first denies Mansa Devi to become his devotee, to his eventual journey across the Mediterranean or Indian Ocean, and beyond that to the Venice. Each location he visits is marked by sign of the goddess's presence, and even in the present time of the novel, when the characters are moving, there are these marks are also there of the various wrath that was presented by Mansa Devi to make the gun merchant her devotee. Like spiders, snakes coming to the Venice due to climate crisis, and reinforcing the idea that his travel are not entirely his own choice, but rather dictated by the fate. Parallel to the contemporary migration due to climate change and socio-political issues. Here is the map I have created. Let me navigate through the map. This map is not openable in the institutional ID, so I'll have to open it in my personal one. Here I have tried to put some of the parts of the novel in the mapping Google My Map. Like, it allows us to put the color as well, various landmarks. Here, as I was like telling yesterday as well, that some of the locations are arbitrary, and there is not certain clear cut descriptions given, so it becomes very difficult to place that like locate the place at certain points. Like here, what is it, areas affected by cyclone, so here are some of the coastal areas till this point that can be affected by. So in the Sundarban, these are the areas that are frequently hit by the cyclone, and this is that what makes the migration of people, because Sundarban is like day by day is drowning due to that, and diving into the ocean itself. Like this Google like maps allow us to put the images and along with the descriptions as well to see the things. uh, the river becomes the like if we touch on the line, there is this we can also see the description as well. The this river becomes like is a part, or it is a line that draws sort of partition of Bangladesh and West Bengal. And after independence, or during the case of novel, this river become crucial part, because from here the illegal migration starts, as Tipu embarks on that as well, who is trying to make people flee from the islands of Sundarbans and moving towards other parts of the world. Like the journey of Tipu from Sundarbans to Dhaka, and from that uh, to Germany, then to Yugoslavia, and from there the journey goes on. And in this journey they are facing some of the climate crisis as well, political crisis as well, as we can see the journey of gun merchant, who is uh, transported from Sundarbans, where like during that period the delta of Sundarbans or the areas near to Dhaka were under the rule of Portuguese, and Portuguese like made that our merchant to the like captured and several people in the Bay of Bengal and sold them in Goa, the capital of Portuguese Empire in Asia and key hub of Indian Ocean slave trade. And from there, our gun merchant is accompanied and fled away with Nakhuda Ilyas to the Maldives of Goa. But here also there is this acquire a cargo of they acquire cargo of uh, cowrie shells, and they went to trade it in the Egypt. In the Egypt as well, they do not make their way, so they need to, due to the general crisis, they left out Egypt, political, socio-political reason, and they came to Istanbul. And from that place they went to Sicily. This is this Shikul Dweep, as it is mentioned in the novel, the land of chains. And from that they make their way to Venice, which is the island within island, no referred in the novel, Gun Island itself. So the novel places it that this is gun merchant is not the merchant, like is not a merchant of gun, but the merchant who went to Venice. Parallelly with the narrative of or the journey of this gun merchant, there are multiple journeys by the characters like of Munir, Tipu, and Rafi. In the case of Tipu and Rafi as well, Tipu was the one who was helping people to illegally migrate to the places, and they are going to Venice. As the Venice becomes the part of the world where so many migratory people came to make their fortune, but unfortunately they didn't make their way at that place as well. So there are different layers that we can identify through the mapping of the texts. uh, Dhaka, the journey of Munir. Yeah, and here in that journey also there are the journey of Tipu and Rafi. Tipu and Rafi also get parted away while making their way, like they are facing storm, they are facing other hazards of people. And after in the end of the novel, they are making their way as our protagonist of the novel, Dinanath Datta, also follows the same journey. So this is how the places can be mapped, and this can be viewed through Google Earth as well in all the ways, like all the journeys. However, the routes are a bit complicated to understand. Also, some of the places description is not as a whole given by Amitav Ghosh. Maybe there was no need to do it, but this is how it can be seen. Let me be back to my presentation. Well, there are this interconnectedness of migration from like 17th century gun island journey, gun merchants journey from Bengal to Venice to parallel modern migrations in Gun Island. Characters like Tipu, Rafi, Rubna Khala, Munir, and Palash migrate due to economic, like this Rafi and also Munir. They fled away from the Dhaka, or we can say Bengal islands of Sundarbans, due to the climate crisis or economic and political crisis. Places like Goa, Istanbul, and Venice continues to serve as a sites of refuge and conflict across the history. There is this human and ecological migration going together in the novel. Uh, Here are some of the pictures that can help us to understand the, or we that can add meaning to the exploration of mapping. The role of digital mapping, which serves reveals spatial patterns in migration and history's cyclic nature. There are different colors used to distinguish routes and locations, adding comprehension. We can clearly identify which color journey of which character is there. Clicking on interactive map element provides access to migration routes, descriptions, and embedded images. Visualizing recurring themes like Dinanath Datta's encounters with Bengali immigrant in Venice mirrors the gun merchant's journey. Migration patterns illustrate the persistence of displacement and resilience over time. The shrine of Mansa Devi is also symbolically connected human and animal migration, as Mansa Devi as said or explored in the novel by Amitav Ghosh, that is following our gun merchant to Venice. And even in the novel as well, Giacinta also faces the snake bite at, or she like observes or sees snake at the beach of Venice. Digital mapping as an interactive experience. It allows us to have an interactive experience. Map markers and lines allows us to like users to test migration routes and access the detailed description. Use of color and visual differentiations. Mapping historical and ecological recurrence within the novel itself. Thematic insights through digital visualization. Ecological human migrations are intertwined and reinforcing the novel's central themes. Even Mansa Devi's shrine also connects human displacement to environmental shift. Even in the novel, also, this a shrine of Mansa Devi is saying that if the character, the protagonist, will not visit the place, it will be drawn. And when they are visiting the place or the shrine of Mansa Devi, it was a bit drawn as well. Like why digital mapping is crucial to this research. Mapping allows us for dynamic visualization of migration patterns and ecological shift. Also, it acts of digital the act of digital mapping redefines literary analysis, offering a novel way to see the novel itself. Like while exploring this or mapping the literary text, I came to the thing that there are multiple routes that need to be explored within the narrative through the mapping, including human and animal migration, its interconnectedness in terms of climate crisis and other reasons as well. So all that connected migration through adding the layers can be traced together and tried to look at, decode the cultural geography and thus cartography itself, detailed analysis of cultural and climate, human migration together, and socio-political aspects. Moreover, the mapping tool I have used in this in creating this visual map in this presentation is Google My Map, or we can say Google Earth. But I'm also intending to explore more such platforms such as Story Map JS. But at the initial stage, there are certain technical aspects that I'm facing, problems that I'm facing right now. But hopefully in the future, I'll be with some of the tools that can give me more space to explore these narratives in a more explicit and interesting ways. So this is all about my presentation. Here are some of the references, and this is all. And now I am open for questions.
Okay, have you given this animal migration also in the mapping?
No, sir.
This
It
was
is
only human.
migration only.
Animal you have mentioned in the last slide,
Yes.
but still mapping is not
Not
there. No?
done, yeah.
Because that also is interesting to see when you also try to see ecological concern. So how the animal by sea route also migrate, and how the novel try to talk about it.
Due to the climate crisis.
Climate
and other
crisis.
reasons as well.
Hmm.
Human interference in my this climate as well.
Okay.
Sir, because like when I was adding the layers to it, there was some difficulties I was facing, technical aspects. I was adding the layers, but it was not reflected on the map. So I'll have to try to see the things. How can I do that? Because there are this ArcGIS as well. So with this ArcGIS and Story Map JS, I'm exploring right now. So I just took help from Google or Google My Map only, because it is easy to navigate, but it does not provide, or it is not contending me that this is what I want to present in the map. So this is what happening. Yeah.
Tools also regarding that, or you have to merge in your own manner, that how you can edit the image file.
Yes.
And put the things.
Well, digitization, digital humanities and emotions, as I have studied that digital and humanities both are very contradictory terms, and in terms of representing the emotions, it becomes the difficult terms. But digital cartography is not just about drawing the conclusion, it is more about drawing the interpretation of the text. So what are your views upon digitization of characters? Characters may not be digitized in the sense in mapping, when we are considering the mapping, as we are trying to locate their actions and try to see their activities in the novel and how it can add to the whole of the narrative, and try to understand the layers that one cannot identify through the reading of the novel.
Trushali, my question is, what are the limitations can be found when the cartography of literary texts is done?
Yes, so like there are so many limitations when we are dealing with digital literary cartography, or let's say literary cartography itself. Like there are writers who will use the imaginary characters, places such as Thomas Hardy's Wessex, or even Arkenaray's Malgudi. And even if we are taking it in the consideration of Gun Island, where Amitav Ghosh has presented and located their characters at the real life locations. However, there are some of the locations that are not even like available on the maps. So while these challenges can be limitations can also be overcome by looking at the whole narrative itself, but there are certain limitations of placing that location at certain place. as well. Moreover, there are unclear description of places, and those are not found on the map as well. So but it can be overcome. Other part is emotions, as Nilay has just mentioned. It cannot also be presented but interpreted in that sense.
Does the digital cartography enhance readers' experience of the any particular text, or is it more useful to academicians or analytical tool?
For both, digital literary cartography is very much important. Let's say if we take it in a reader's experience of reading Gun Island, while reading any literary text as literary text itself, uh, there are certain roots, certain characters, and certain places that are interlinked. We cannot identify it in a more explicit and more interesting way, the way digital mapping tools or digital literary cartography can give the understanding by looking at it, by experiencing it. And it's not just about literary cartography. When it is coming to digital literary cartography, it is a more we can say an interesting or engaging tool. While zooming it, while clicking on multiple layers, icons, we can experience it. So it is not just a mere academic or analytical tool, but rather it gives reader as well a sort of other interpretation that cannot be grasped or acquired during reading the literary text itself. So it is for both important, and it can be interesting in terms of reader's experience as well, in terms of academic analytical tool as well.
So we will have to see. Let me share this. This research about human migration as well as the animal birds specifically, the migration, which is already done by other researchers. How
Yes.
they are mapping, how they address the mapping of this, what tools they use for this all things, and how the literary representation of such migration support the same thing. It's all is already done, and people are doing lots of
Yes.
research on migration of birds. Mapping is also being done in different ways. So this research also will help you that when you find a problem in how to do. So this study will give you an idea that how they are doing, what way they are mapping the migrations. Birds specifically is being done in a very interesting manner. So they use satellite and various technology to do this. And then human trafficking also. Lots of mapping of this is real data of human trafficking. And then you will see in your literature, but you will get some idea that how people are doing, what tools they are using, what way they are mapping the thing. So the problem that you face can also be sorted out in this manner. Okay, so we are joined by Dr. Kalyan Chattopadhyay also, in case he has anything to say. Dr. Kalyan Chattopadhyay, would you like to say anything?
No, I must congratulate the presenter because she was actually referring to a very interesting idea. But at the same time, if you have an experience of Sundarbans, or if you have an experience of human migration in Sundarban, also animal migration, animal meaning even the snakes, they travel far and wide from one places to another. If you look at mm, the whole thing that Amitav Ghosh is dabbling with, for example, he's first dabbling with the fable of Manasa. Now, this has meaning a very well-known legend in Bengali and also in Assam, particularly in Bengal and Assam, in Orissa a bit too. That Chand Sadagar That means who is the gun merchant Banduki Sadagar. So Chand Sadagar was a devout follower of Lord Shiva, and then he was not ready to pay um, respects to Manasa, so the goddess, and so she had her revenge, and then his son Lakhinder was actually killed by a snake bite. Now, if you look at all these stories, these are not the focus of Amitav Ghosh. Actually, he is using these legends to counter two things. First of all, if you go back to Hungry Tide, which is also written in Sundarban, and if you look at Hungry Tide, and if you use digital cartography, you will see I can now imagine, or I can visualize a bit how the movements or cross movements of both the rivers and the oceans take place. Because if you come to one point in Sundarban, you will see the island and the rivers, they are actually coming together now. So that opens up the route to different kinds of migration for economics, migration for social political issues. And then there is another myth which he has not talked about, but which is about the Marathas. The Marathas used to come in large numbers to Bengal, and they used to loot and then go back. So there was a sense of dread, right? The sense of dread. So when you talk about the snakes, there is a sense of dread. The snakes will bite. So the Manasa, as a goddess, actually gets a kind of place, becomes a kind of a household goddess in the particularly in the forest areas or in the river beds, simply because of the dread that is in the minds of people, that I may die because of the snake bite. And if Manasa is somehow unhappy with me or is somehow upset with me, then my family will be destroyed because of snake bite. So that is the kind of a consciousness these people have, right, in the mind. And then it is intertwined with the kind of another dread that is of gun. Okay, that is another thing. So you will have two maps. One is the kind of an animal migration, another is the human migration, and both are actually taking place of the dread. So you go back to Hungry Tide, and I will also ask you to go back to also the Great Derangement, Climate Change and Unthinkable. It's a non-fiction book which was written by Amitav Ghosh, perhaps in 2015 or 2016. Please check. There he tries to talk about the uncanny predicament under delinquent and deranged modes of political and socio-economic organizations. So I would say that Amitav Ghosh was trying to answer these questions that he himself raised in Great Derangement. And while doing that, he is actually dabbling with a number of legends, right? Although the legends are not his focus, he's dabbling with them in both in Hungry Tide, also in this particular novel you are talking about. So when you do digital cartography, I'm sure you will look into all these aspects, and I must say is very insightful and also technologically very rewarding, how technology can be used to read a literary text. So basically by literary text we mean we read it for pleasure. We talk about emotions, drama, human empathy and everything. But when you apply technology and you take the emotion out of it, what do you see? You see how the imagination of the author travels. So you basically you are able to visualize the actually the chart or the map of the imaginative map of the authors. So that is something very rewarding. Sometimes, as you have said very correctly, that is not that viable, meaning sometimes there are places and other things, they have no locations because they are mythological, they are meaning or maybe they are non-existent. This is just products of Amitav Ghosh's own imaginations, or a writer or author's or novelist's imagination. But then we are able to map it out. We may say that this portion is actually something that we can geographically situate, and these are the points that we cannot geographically connect or historically or socially connect. So how these two diverse modes are actually put together in a novel, that can be illuminated by digital cartography. Dilip.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kalyan, for joining also and giving a very interesting feedback. Dr.
Okay,
Kalyan
thank you.
Chattopadhyay
My
is from
pleasure.
West
My
Bengal,
pleasure.
Kolkata. So this is a regional text for him also. And he is very much interested in digital humanities, digital culture. He's doing a lots of work since many years, decades on ICT and English language teaching also. So thanks a lot, Dr. Kalyan, for joining. And I will share the contact details in case she requires some more help to know
Yeah.
some regional dynamics, like the
Yes.
story of Mansa Devi, how the people, the local people,
Yeah,
lives in and
you
maybe
can.
she will contact you also
Yeah.
for that. Yeah?
She
Thanks a lot
can.
for joining us. Thanks.
She can pay a visit to
With this
Sundarban.
comment, we end our live stream here. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.